Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Hockey Writers Fantasy Forecheck podcast. As always, I am your host, Jacob Strozyk, joined by my fellow Atlantic Division covering human.
Jacob Billington, thank you for the intro.
And we're going to go through this week's fantasy trends. We got some cool players to go through, a little bit different, and a couple of repeat offenders that we'll probably briefly discuss. But I think it's going to be a good time. Before we get started, we have our question of the week, and I'm gonna keep it on topic with something that happened today. When teams make a coaching change, hopefully to better their team, are you
Yep.
more likely to start picking up players from that struggling team in hopes that they turn it around, or do you feel the coaching change doesn't warrant that kind of belief?
Well, in general, yes, because it seems like just they get that fresh blood in the locker room and everybody's just ready to run through a wall for that new coach. And the teams just always seem to do good behind a brand new coach mid-season. It's like look at Bruce Boudreau, look at Rick Tocchet last year, just for two Vancouver examples, I guess. But just seems like when a new coach comes in, team even just for like a 3 weeks to 6 weeks, just that span, they're just incredible. Now, the Edmonton Oilers in particular, sorry, absolutely, because everybody's going to be selling low on Oilers right now. We just talked in our group chat that I don't remember who it was. I think it was Eugene was selling low
Mm-hmm.
on Nugent Hopkins. Right now is the perfect time to go scoop that up if you need a center.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I'm being inclined to believe you, or not believe you, to agree with you on that topic because you're right. When the new coach comes in, there's always that little bit of a boost, you know, even if it's just temporary. You get that little bonus boost right at the start, especially when it's fresh blood or if it's somebody that really has that ability to invigorate that team and get them going on a mini hot streak. It's worth picking up. Now, with Edmonton, we expected them to be on that hot streak and tear to start the season. I think most of us had Edmonton leading the Pacific Division in points at the start of the year,
Yeah.
as far as our guesses go. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But if besides Nugent Hopkins, just to keep it on a mini topic here, who else would you be targeting on the Oilers as maybe a waiver claim or pickup?
If somebody's going to be selling low on Bouchard, just because he was struggling at times, but he's starting to find his game even before the coaching change. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
really imagine you're going to be buying low on him. But if you can find somebody, I mean, Hyman's been tearing it up. But I might even give Connor Brown a look when he's healthy.
Connor Brown. My personal pick would be Holloway. I think he's going to get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, for a few minutes there, I was talking to somebody, and I thought that it was going to be Gerard Gallant headed to Edmonton. That's what I was told by somebody, and it ended up obviously being wrong. But I was going to bring that up tonight. I was going to say get rid of Holloway as fast as you can if Gallant is the head coach.
Yeah, that wouldn't go well. But with uh, I can't figure out how to pronounce his name. Um,
I think it's Knobloch.
is it Knobloch? I wasn't sure if it was sure if it was the like a hard ch sound, but if it's Knobloch, then we'll go with that and we'll run with that for the rest of the discussion. Um, I think he's better for a younger player like Holloway, and I think he's going to get a big opportunity. He's going to get some extra points. Could be an easy buy low waiver claim type guy to kind of fill out that bottom half. But let's move it along and get right to the trending players. We'll keep in the tradition of positivity, and we'll go with the uptrend players. Anybody burning on your brain?
Yeah, so first person I wanted to talk about was Cole Perfetti. He's been having great years. He got 4 goals, 11 points through 13, maybe 14 games with the Jets this year. He's in a really good role. He's on that second line for the most part. Now Nikolai Ehlers is having a tough time getting going, but once he gets going, Perfetti's in an even better spot. Yeah, the Jets top six is performing well. I know there was a lot of questions about that team coming into the season, but you got guys like Alex Iafallo coming out of nowhere and putting up insane numbers. Nino Niederreiter is as well. Cole Perfetti is definitely one of them as well. He doesn't give you much for hits or blocks, but he's got a lot of shots. He's got a lot of points. He scores some goals, so he does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats now. He's on a one, two, three. He's on a 6 game point streak,
Yep.
and he's got 7 points in that span.
Yeah.
He's got looks like 2 power play points in that span time, so you get some additional things there. And he's averaging about 3 shots a game, so the shooting percentage is definitely going up. I like Perfetti as a player. I he was one of the candidates that I wanted back when the Sabres picked Jack Quinn.
Yeah.
I was really high on Perfetti personally, and it's nice to see somebody like that kind of coming into their own. He's scoring at the pace that I was hoping, and it's even better for fantasy because I also may or may not have picked him up momentarily in my other league, and I'm hoping that he continues to score because it would be fantastic if he did. But no, I like the way that Winnipeg is looking despite my reservations to start the year. I think they're in a decent spot right now. And I'll segue that right into one of my hot trend players, and that is Alex Iafallo, who you briefly discussed there. He's on a big production tear. He's got 8 points in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
And while mostly assists, you can't go wrong with multi-point games in different scenarios because that's always just going to be a huge weekly boost, whether you're whether you're in points leagues or category leagues. It's a big deal when you get multi-point games.
Yeah, and like Iafallo has been doing a fantastic job of just fitting in and doing everything he needs to. He's on that top line now with Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele. A
Mhm.
lot of people think that that line might get split up soon just to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. But he's doing his job. He had a 4 assist game the other night. Um, Not much more you can ask from a guy like him.
Yeah, and he's like you said, the top line, but he's getting that ice time to go with it. It's right around 17, almost 18 minutes a night.
Yeah.
So as he keeps getting opportunities, the trend up still might continue. I don't know if he'll, be dropping 2, 3 assists per night, but I think he can keep up a decent point streak, probably a 4 or 5 game point streak, and just kind of cycle through that.
He's definitely somebody I would try and grab if you have the opportunity to.
Who else you got? Anybody
I got Matthew
fun?
Joseph. Um,
Okay.
he's been he's been great this year. He's got 12 points now, I think, in 13 games. And he's got 5 in his last 4 games. He had a 3 assist game the other night. Um, he's scoring goals. He's got 4 goals, I think, on the season, maybe 5. He's just playing really well. He is kind of floating around the lineup a little bit. Ottawa's lineup is mixed all over the place every night, which I know we are going to talk about later. But right now, Matthew Joseph is on fire, and he's only rostered at 7% on ESPN. If you can get him, he's already got 12 points this year. He's well worth the pickup.
Yeah, he's got 12 points, 13 games. He's a +7. It was 4 goals that he's currently at. And he's got a good chunk of those semi recently. He had a 3 assist game that shows against Toronto. And he's racking up somewhere around 18 and a half to almost, maybe 19 minutes a night sometimes. So he's probably sitting at a comfortable 18 minutes per game, which is absolutely fantastic, especially if he's going to keep producing like that. And at a low roster rate, I had somebody offer him to me in a trade recently, and I turned it down. Might have to revisit that based off of these numbers.
Yes, he's having a very quietly good season. And like, could you imagine if so the reported asking price from Philadelphia was a first round pick and a good prospect? Could you imagine if Ottawa sent the first round pick to Philly just to get
To
Joseph
take
over there? And
uh
now oh, that would have
that
been
you
such an Ottawa thing to happen.
I feel like you would have been screaming that I would have heard you all the way from
Yes.
the past the border.
Yes.
Another one I got. We'll keep it in Canada. I'll talk about Caden Gooley.
Okay.
Good defenseman. He's not like super hot, but he's on a little mini streak here. He's getting more ice time, and he's got 3 points in his last 3 games. And he had a big overtime winner the other night, which, depending on how your league is formatted, game-winning goals can mean extra points, and they can also be a category. So something like that will always come in handy. Not that he's going to be doing it super regularly,
Yeah.
but still, it's nice to see someone like him jumping into the production and adding some more firepower from the Montreal defense to kind of balance out what Mike Matheson does. And I like what Gooley's doing recently.
Yeah, I like Gooley. I think he's going to be a fantastic defenseman, and I don't really have too much to add to what you already said. But like, I think that Gooley does all the right things, and if he's not already to you, in 2 3 years, he will be a very valuable fantasy defenseman.
Yeah, I think I saw he was only rostered at about 12 to 15% on ESPN. So I imagine it's similar or lower on Yahoo. I didn't check the Yahoo one.
Yeah,
Well, who else you got?
I got one more, and this might come back to bite me if you end up picking up this player and it does not go well for you. Do not come yell at me, but I'm gonna give Mackenzie Blackwood a shout out here.
Ooh, I like it.
He's not getting many wins. I mean, obviously he just got the pair, but he's just making so many saves that, especially if you are in a points league that saves are worth anything really, like a quarter of a point, let's say, he is going to get you lots of points. I wouldn't take him in a categories league, but in a points league where he's making so many saves, I think that he might be worth it.
Uh, I'm gonna jump in there and agree with you on the category part. As far as points leagues go, it's really, in my opinion, only worth it if you're not getting negative points for goals against and something like
Right.
that. So if you're in a league that focuses more on points for as opposed to negative points, then
Yeah.
absolutely yes. Blackwood is somebody you should be looking at to kind of be one of your alternate goaltending options, or if you have absolutely zero goaltending, if you're in a deep league,
Yeah.
Blackwood might just be somebody to get saves for you in that category. And it is an absolute shame that he has been banished to the depths of the San Jose goaltending because he deserves so much more based off of the way that he's been playing. Um, I personally think he should be moved as a trade bait piece. I don't know how early they do it, but I feel like he would be a fantastic pickup when he does get moved, regardless of what team he goes to, because it's not going to be another bottom feeder.
Yeah.
All right. I will keep it towards the back end. I don't have a goaltender, but I do have a defenseman, and that's Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Playing solid in Florida right now with some of their bigger defensemen still injured. He's getting a solid role there, playing a little over 20 to 21 minutes a night. He's got 6 points in his last 6 games, and there's still plenty of opportunity to him or for him to continue being a really good point producing defenseman on Florida. He's never been a physical guy, but he'll throw up shots. He'll get you a couple of blocks, and he will get you some points, and he might even get you a couple of power play points. But as of right now, he's somebody that you can use to kind of filter down in your category leagues and get a couple of bonus points in your points leagues coming from your back end.
Yeah. Today he is a good pickup if you have the opportunity to. Within the next 7 days, Brandon Montour is going to be back in the lineup, so he's not going to be as valuable. OEL is not going to be as valuable in the lineup, but he is still going to get you some of those points. He's going to be demoted down to the second power play unit. Um, but yeah, he's still going to get you those things, but Brandon Montour is going to be taking some of that away from him. So it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic is like with those two defensemen, even without because Aaron Ekblad still isn't back yet. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Montour would definitely take over the top spot, but Ekman-Larsson will still give you enough fantasy value to be a depth player. Like I said, he's not going to be one of your top options, but he's going to filter down and get a couple of extra things for you
yeah,
here and there. I only really have one other one. You got any others?
no, I don't get any for the uptrend. No,
Okay, last one for me. Ryan O'Reilly, while super, well, sorry, not while super, while fairly inconsistent with his scoring this year, recently he's had a bit of a hot trend. He had a hat trick recently, and he's playing on that top line for Nashville, and he's going to continue to do that. So he'll eventually produce. To me, he's not, a 70, 80 point type player. He's a good maybe 60 to 65 point type guy. And I think that's about what he'll be able to pull off in Nashville. And his true value comes from his defensive ability. He'll get you a couple extra blocks, and he wins a lot of faceoffs. So if you're a team that has, faceoffs as a stat and you need a little bonus, he's somebody I would consider because his goal scoring has been solid this year, and I think he can give you a little boost there too.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. He's a 60, 65 point guy. It looks like he's still going to be that on a struggling Nashville team. Scoring a lot more goals than he usually does, like he's mentioned with the hat trick. I love O'Reilly, and I think he's a fantastic pickup on any fantasy team.
I've had my struggles with him in the past when he's played on Buffalo, as far as fantasy is concerned. Not as like an actual player. He was always a good player in Buffalo, but it just as a fantasy owner, it was a bit of a struggle to figure out what's going to do for me this year. And then he made it to St. Louis, and he had an awesome year. And then he played not so great last year. So it's an up and down trend with O'Reilly. So it's a little tough to kind of grade him.
Was anybody
Uh,
good on Buffalo those years, though?
I would argue Robin Leonard,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's
exactly.
the only name I've got for you. Stonewall Robin Leonard. Anyway, let's do the uptrend teams. Any teams kind of standing out to you as big uptrends that we didn't really talk about? I mean, I have Boston on here just because they're still just rolling, but beyond that, you got any other ones that are standing out for you?
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. I'm gonna throw in the Anaheim Ducks. They just
Okay.
had a 6 game win streak. That got snapped, but they're still like they got the vibes going right now. It's I don't know what it is, but Anaheim's doing really well right now, and I would take a look, see what free agents are available for them, see if you can pick any guys up. I don't imagine you're not gonna find Troy Terry or Leo Carlson on waivers right now, but have a look around, see, check out their lineup, who's playing on whose wing, pick up some guys.
Yeah, a name I'd throw in there is Cam Fowler. He's
Yeah,
playing like top D minutes for them. He's not
yeah,
scoring at a ridiculous rate, but he's still at about a point every other game. So as
yeah.
far as his point production, that's something that might be worth taking a look at. His plus minus isn't terrible either, so he's getting you decent coverage there.
Yep.
As far as an uptrend team, I kind of was saying to pay attention to beyond Boston. Uh, Panthers and Kings to me are another couple of teams that I feel like are in a good spot right now. Kings especially are having some really really good games. We talked about Cam Talbot last week,
Yeah.
so he's still trending up as far as a goaltender goes. So if you have any way to pick him up, I saw him rostered at about 60 something percent
Yeah.
on ESPN. So there's still a chance that he could be sitting on your waiver wire. Not a high one, but there is still a chance since it's just about 50%. Something you might want to look at. And as far as the Panthers go, anybody who bought on Sam Reinhart earlier this season is cheering in the streets because the kid's just ridiculous. I don't
I
mean to keep driving that point home, but still, as a personal fan of Sam Reinhart, I'm going to sing the praises of the kid.
Is it too late to go veto that trade?
Um, I don't know if I don't know if I can retroactively reverse that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I lost that one big time.
You live and you learn, and you got to make moves, right?
Yeah.
Can't
And
be afraid to make the
again,
moves.
I'll defend myself. I wasn't selling low on him or anything like that. It was just a move that made sense for positions and it helped us both out for our positions and whatever. It was before the season even started, but it bit me.
Well, let's be honest with ourselves. Nobody's sitting around at the start of a season thinking, "Oh, Sam Reinhart's going to have 11 goals in 14 games."
Yeah.
Not a single person is thinking that. If you ask me how many goals did Sam Reinhart have in 14 games, I tell you like 5 on the high end.
Yeah.
So nobody's blaming you for it. And I don't mean to keep ragging on it, but it's just a personal win for me as somebody who likes the player. All right, let's shift it. Let's do some downtrends. I have 3 on my
All right.
list because every single one of them are just extremely noticeable to me. Who you got?
I'll start with Mikey Anderson. I'm a
Okay.
huge fan of Mikey Anderson. He's got 1 point in his last 6 games after a dominant start to the season. He was scoring at a
Mm-hmm.
point a game for the first, I don't know, 8 games or so. But now he's
Yep.
1 point in his last 6 games. I'm hanging on to him. I've got him on my team. I'm not ready to drop him yet. He's only rostered at 22%, minus 6% in the last week on Yahoo. But I'm not ready to drop him. LA is a fantastic team. I think he's going to snap out of this. I've been keeping him on my bench. I haven't really been throwing him out there. I picked up, who did I get? I picked up Jonas Brodin, and he's been doing good, getting me some hits and blocks.
Queen's good.
Um, And what Mikey Anderson is still getting the blocks and whatnot. But I put up Brodeen just for a few games, and those two are kind of balancing out for me. So that's don't drop them, but don't start them.
I find it funny that you brought up those two specifically because in my other league, I I think it was like Thursday or Wednesday, I dropped Anderson and picked up Protein.
That's funny.
So I just think it's a little coincidence that that was the situation.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. He had a torrid start for the year. It's a shame to see him kind of drop off. I dropped him, but you're right. You don't have to if you really feel the need. And like we said, LA is in a good spot right now, so you can buy on LA, no problems there.
Yeah.
I'll stick it on the defense. I'm going to talk about John Klingberg, who has been just a monumental disappointment. 0 points in his last 8 games. He's not adding any value basically anywhere on the ice. He's barely shooting. He's not really getting any hits. He's not really blocking any shots, and he's not scoring. And his ice time is going down. The Leafs in general are kind of hit or miss right now. If your name isn't Mitch Marner, Willie Nylander, or Austin Matthews, you're kind of like, okay, what am I getting out of this?
Yeah.
So Klingberg is a hard drop, if you ask me.
The media's been pounding him. I think there's nothing else that I can add that you haven't heard already if you're listening to this, but I do have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, hit me.
Let's just say, not even fantasy wise, let's say you are the
Okay.
GM of the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Toronto offers you Ryan Reeves or Toronto offers you John Klingberg. Which one are you taking if you have to take one?
God, we need help in both. Our power play sucks, and we have terrible physical numbers. Can either of them win face-offs?
No.
Well, God. I guess at this point, might as well take Ryan Reeves. Don Granato is insistent on playing certain fourth liners for only like 5 minutes a game anyway. Matt Savoy only played less than 4 minutes in his debut and then got sent down to juniors. So, at that point, might as well have Ryan Reeves to go out there and crack some skulls and throw some hits and get some attention. So
not to keep piling on the Leafs, but I did see a really funny stat that it broke down like he's a minus 11 through 105 minutes or something. And so it equaled out that with him on the ice, the Leafs are basically shorthanded by the average power play percent. And it was hilarious.
Can I just have Jake McCabe back instead and call it a day?
Right.
I'll take McCabe back. He was great. He still is great. I want him. I'd love to have him back, but I don't think Toronto would let us do that.
Not likely.
If only. But yeah, that's my take on Klingberg. I got 2 more. Who else you got?
I got one more here, and I'm going to go with Teuvo Teravainen.
Okay.
He very, very streaky. He's like Dominic Kubalik, but better. We've talked about Kubalik quite a few times here. Teravainen, it's really tough because he has all the talent. Carolina has all of the good players for him to play with. But Rod Brindamore is not afraid to send him to the fourth line if that's where he needs to be. So he's not a player I would typically draft anyway. But right now he had a hat trick a week and a half ago. And since then he has 1 goal in like 6 games.
Yeah, Teravainen for me, I have had years where he has been just an absolute dynamo for me at certain points. And you're right, streaky is the perfect word. And he's just lighting up and winning me. He's winning me games some weeks. And then other times it's just like, no points in his last 10 games.
Yeah.
Where'd he go? I would love it if he showed up right now. Kind of need those points. But didn't he have a hat trick earlier this season?
He did, yeah. 10 days.
So a fantastic example of super hot, gone. It's just nothing. It's nothing after that. But I don't really have any arguments against the Teravainen thing. I avoid him personally like the plague because I can't stand what he does to my roster and it gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I agree. And I said this a few times while we were talking about Kubalik. I don't pick up those guys that are usually 4 goals in 5 games and then 10 games with nothing. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to deal with that. If you're lucky enough to maybe pick him up the day of when he gets a hat trick and then you drop him the day after, then cool. But beyond that, it's just a pain. All right. Speaking of things that are pains, let's talk about Jonathan Huberdeau because I can't tell you how many fantasy owners are probably just bashing their heads against their desks or their walls or whatever hard surface they can find that they held on to Huberdeau in keeper leagues, probably, or that they maybe bought high on Huberdeau, being like, oh, this is going to be a better year. He's got a better coach. Everything's going to turn around. Nope. He has 3 points in his last 6 games, and they're all assists. Twice now, he has logged less than 15 minutes of ice time, and that's just in the past 5 games. And at this point, I'm just going to say it. Sell low. And if you're not going to sell low, keep praying because I think you're praying to nothing, praying for nothing at this point. I don't even know if he's going to crack the 60-point mark, let alone the 50-point mark.
It's insane. Like, how does a player go from what was it, 115 points down to
Yep.
55? Like, that's nuts. And like, sure, you could blame Daryl Sutter last year, but like, do you point the finger at Ryan Huska again this year, or is that just an excuse? Like, I don't know what to say about the Calgary Flames, and pretty much everybody on that team. And you know what? I said I only have two players on the downswing. I'm going to throw Elias Lindholm in there too.
Okay.
I don't have his stats right in front of me, but I do know that he's been struggling as of late. Um, it's just the Flames, man.
Yeah, I know we talked about the Flames briefly last week. Just the bottom of the Pacific is a dismal place to be as far as fantasy owners are concerned. But I just felt the need to throw Huberdeau in because it's a big name that continues to do so much nothing, and
Yeah.
I need to throw it in there. Let's talk about another hot player name as far as topics go. I got Trevor Zegras as my last player, and he has been cold as ice all season long. He is day to day right now. He is injured, so we'll keep that in mind. But either way, he only has 2 points in his 12 games that he has played, and he's not really contributing anything. There's not really anything that he has been able to do on the ice, or it doesn't seem like he's doing anything for his teammates when he's on the bench either. So as far as fantasy is concerned, I would rather him be on the bench. I'm not saying you need to drop him because he still is top 6 option, but there are better options to buy on in Anaheim right now. You can buy stock in McTavish, Strome, Vetrano. There's a lot of good players to pick up. Zegras ain't one of them.
Yeah. However, I will add that if you have a good opportunity to buy very, very low on Zegras, I would. But don't give up much of value. But I do think that he is going to bounce back and be fine. I do have faith in that. I think that he still finishes with 55, 60 points this year. I do think he'll get hot, but he's off to a miserable start.
Like I said, I don't want to make it seem like drop him and just leave
Yeah.
him nowhere. But as of right now, when you have start or sit options, if you're running a hot player over somebody that you might think, Zegras could do better this game, no, play the hot player until Zegras heats up.
Yeah.
Just leave him on the bench.
Yep.
As far as downtrend teams, I don't really have anybody that's like struggling. A lot of teams are kind of just winning a game, losing a game, winning a game, losing a game. It's not like a huge lose streak type of thing unless you're talking about, Edmonton, San Jose. But we already talked about that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse on it. The only team that I could say maybe are struggling comparative to what they normally would do is the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that they have the capacity for so much more. They're definitely missing Vasilevsky at this point.
Yep.
Johansson has been serviceable, but I don't think he's good enough comparative to what they need. And I really think they probably should have gotten a goaltender.
Yeah. It's tough because until the past week, it's been hard to complain about Jonas Johansson. Like, hindsight is 2020. Right now, it's yes, they should have got a goalie, but I don't know. Like, they were fine with them up until now. So it's interesting. You also have Connor Sheary in the top 6 who has 3 points. Like, how do you where do you really put your foot down and say this is the problem? There's quite a few problems going on in Tampa right now. But Vasilevsky coming back will solve the biggest one.
Yeah, and that'll definitely help you fantasy wise, and a lot of other fantasy owners that are holding on to Vasilevsky in their IR slots. Be patient; he'll be back. Probably not until late December, probably early January, based off of what I've seen. But just be careful with Tampa. Understand that Johansson is still a mid-tier goaltender, even though Tampa is technically a good team.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to throw in? Anything else on your brain you want to chat about?
What are you doing with McDavid right now? If you have him on your team, you're just
Oh,
riding.
you ride all day with McDavid. I'm not gonna give an exception for how bad that they are, or like credit him or Drasset or whoever else for what's happening. It's McDavid. At the end of the day, he's still gonna finish the season with 100 points. He'll come out of some ridiculous hot streak where he's throwing up 3 points a game, and everybody be like, McDavid's back, even though the Oilers might be winning one every two. So I still say hold on to him. I'm not saying trade him for any way, shape, or form, but if there's an owner that's willing to, now's the time
Connor Bedard's having a better season than McDavid. Just
for
saying.
now. But I
Just
do
saying.
like the numbers. Bedard's putting up some really good numbers, and I'm really happy to see it. But it's been fun. It's been fun to see what the draftees from this past year have been doing.
Yeah. And listen, we only got 2 minutes left in this call, so we got to wrap things up quick. But did you see the report? And it's as uncredible as can be, but it's been going around that Patrick Kane is going to sign with Buffalo.
Ooh, I can't wait to see if it's actually true, because one, it'll put another 1,000 people in those seats.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere should be pretty fun. I think it'll be a nice warm welcome for him. And like I said, I'm not against it. They need offense right now. They need somebody who can help their power play. And even if he's not the one to physically do it, I bet you he's got some better ideas than some of the coaching staff on how to run a power play at this point. So I'll take whatever we can get to get above 10%.
Yeah. Fair enough.
No hate on that. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for tuning into this week's episode of Fantasy Forecheck. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your preferred listening channel, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, as well as the Hockey Writers podcast and YouTube pages, where you can find anything and everything else hockey related. You're always welcome to follow me on Twitter at Strozyk67.
And I'm there at Jacob Billington.
And feel free to drop us a like, leave us a comment, and we will keep you up to date on all things fantasy throughout the year. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.